Okay,
So
cool. I can check.
have you been doing YouTube for a while, or you just starting new with it?
Yeah, I've actually been doing YouTube for it's been like 10, no, it's been yeah, like 10 years. I think when
Oh
I
wow.
was like, yes, I was like 19 or 20 when I started my YouTube channel. And
Okay.
I don't know what was going on with me at the time. I think it's because my mom had breast cancer. I actually started looking into like just positivity and law of attraction. And then I found
Mhm.
out that the food was giving us cancer, right? Because the doctors used to tell me when I would take my mom to her appointments, they used to tell me, oh, like you can get it too, like whatever cancer she has, you're capable of getting it, it's genetic. So I got scared and I was like, how can I prevent this? And then I
Right.
realized that they were like not poisoning the food, but just all of the pesticides and everything was causing all of that. And well, it got me thinking too, because I was like, my grandmother or my great grandmother, like they've never had breast cancer or any kind of cancer. So
Mhm.
I don't know why they were telling me that I was going to get it too. So I got kind of pissed and was like, well, I'm going to do my research. And then that's
Yeah.
where it started. I didn't talk about conspiracies at all on my YouTube channel at first. It was just like, oh, I just want to be like positive and spiritual because I had a really bad experience my senior year. Like something in the terms of being like raped and stuff. So I really wanted to look for like self-help books. And so I read a few, and that's when I started changing my mentality.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until 2000 and like 15 or 16 that I found out about like rituals and just like the whole social security stuff. And then I started making more videos kind of about that, but still trying to be like positive too. And then it
Okay.
wasn't until recently I got into this mentorship with like a group of people. Like, have you heard, who Savan is, Savan Bomar?
Mm.
You don't? Oh, okay. So he's the guy that I'm always posting videos about, and he talks like all spiritual, and he's like this, and that, and he's really good. So he
Okay.
has this program where if you join him, there's like certain classes you can take, and it teaches you a lot about spirituality, like the study of spirits, manifestation, and like just a lot of really good content. And then we have meetings every week. And
Mhm.
sometimes there's classes where people will like just teach you how to like lucid dream or astral
Oh,
project, but he mostly does lucid dreaming. Yeah. And
okay.
then there's a class where they teach you about cosmic law, so you learn about all of the laws in the world and how they affect us even spiritually, like how they can
Mhm.
like kind of like manipulate us into giving up our own rights and our allotment and things like that. So it's a really cool place to be. And I used to be in this program like in 2019 and 20, but I was like so distracted. I got out of the program. And now that I'm back in it, I'm more involved. And I feel like it's changed me a lot more than anything else has.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
I know. I really like it. So I do try to tell people about it every now and then in my videos, but I feel like people don't even know where to start with it. But it's a good place to be, except it's like $80 a month. So some people don't
Okay.
want to budget for that.
Yeah. It's understandable.
Totally. Today, I'm going to be interviewing Sam. And Sam is somebody that I've been following on Instagram for years, and a few other people who like do conspiracies and truth and whatnot also follow him. So, Sam got into an accident. How many years has it been already, Sam?
It's only been a year.
Oh, it's only been a year.
Hmm.
So he got into this accident, and I was so interested because for someone who gets into a situation like that, you would think they're going to be angry, upset, or depressed and whatnot. And your energy just looked very like, very stable and very grateful. And that's when I was like, you know what? I need to check up on him a few months ago. I wanted to ask how you were doing. And then I had all this going on where I wanted to plan to do the podcast.
Hmm.
And I said, I need to interview him, right? So this is Sam, everybody. He's going to tell us a little bit about his experience, but I did want to start with, having you tell us about your childhood and anything that you think stood out to you when you were young concerning like, like self-growth or even just like questioning the reality or anything like that.
It's a tough question. Okay. Well, my childhood was spent with my dad and my brother. My dad raised me and him because my mom, she was going through her challenges in life, you know, and
I love
she
how
was
you
dealing.
said that though. That's so mature of you to say it that way.
Oh, well, thanks. That was kind of, but yeah, she was, going through her challenges, dealing with drug addiction and things that affected her during her childhood. Um, and so I grew up without like that motherly love, initially. And I guess I developed, I don't know how it helped me develop some sort of mindset, to be able to take life on the way I have. And, my dad, he did a great job. He did a great job raising us and kept us outdoors, kept us active, and as much as he could, so
Mhm.
my father, the way he raised us, he did an excellent job, keeping us just active, keeping us our minds away from the negativity of the way my mom was choosing to live her life at the time.
Mhm.
That really helped the development of who I am today.
Good. And then so like at any age did you question like anything about spirituality or anything in that world?
That didn't start happening until my like mid 20s, where I
Oh,
started
okay.
looking into spirituality and the differences between, because I was raised Christian,
Mhm.
and just seeing the differences and similarities between Christianity, the teachings of that, and the different teachings of spiritualism or spirituality. Listening to Eckhart Tolle, Alan Watts, Ram Dass, who I was introduced to by Jay. Um,
Oh, the truth is my religion, right?
yeah, yeah, he's one of my good friends that I linked up with when I was living in New York.
Oh,
I
cool.
met,
So you guys met in person and everything.
oh yeah, yeah, I met him through his dad. His dad was my neighbor.
Oh, okay. So that's why like he had you on Instagram possibly because you guys were already friends before this.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I seen him go from how it started, pretty much. From growing. Me and him, we would grow cannabis together, and he showed me how
Oh.
to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then he started doing research on spirituality, flat Earth, and things of other plant medicines, and that's how he came upon She Legit.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've seen like his whole growth process through this, and it's amazing to see how far he's come.
That's so interesting. Yes, I remember he sold me some cannabis seeds a few years ago. Were
Oh,
you the
really?
guy that he was growing with and they ended up raiding your house or something like that? But then he told you to get the stuff out before?
Yeah, yeah. Well, he had a dream. He had a dream that about that, and yeah, that was me. But they didn't raid me or anything. It was he he had a dream that something bad was going to happen, and he let me know. And like that next day or that morning, I was like, dude, like because I was refilling my water, and I totally forgot about its space, and I was refilling the water inside the bathroom. I had the bucket that was outside the tub, and that overflowed, and it was going into the bottom apartment complex. And so they called, the apartment management, and they're like, "Oh, hey, we need to come check to see if there's a water leak going on." I'm like, "Oh no, you don't need to come in here. I already know what the issue is. I solved the problem." And they were pretty persistent, but I was more persistent of, "No, you're not coming in."
Mhm.
So, then after that, I moved my plants to his house just because he was like, "Yo, dude, it'll be better if you just keep them at my house for a while, just
Mhm.
in case they do want to come by and actually, go in." So I was like, "All right, cool." So yeah, that
Yeah.
was that was that.
You know what? I'm so glad we brought this up because it's funny. I think he told me that like in a direct message once. I don't even think that's anything he's ever like said out loud publicly, but he told me that one of his first like spiritual experiences was him having like that premonition, that dream that
Mhm.
was telling him like, hey, something is gonna happen, so be aware. And like that's the kind of stuff I love. Like I love hearing stories like this when people dream of something and then it happens or similarly or whatever. So that's so crazy. That was
Right.
you. How crazy. So yeah, you guys probably grew the seeds that he had that he sold to me, or was that his own thing?
Maybe if they were anything crossed with the one.
Like Space Bubble? Does
Yep.
that ring a bell?
Or
Oh, okay.
at Space Bubble, there was another one, something Aldrin,
Oh,
the
Buzz
astronaut name.
Aldrin.
Yeah, but
Yes. Okay, I have some of your seeds. Isn't that so cool? I have them stored for when I like in one day in the future when I have like a ranch or something. I want to grow
Mhm.
hemp and everything. So, oh my God, how
Nice.
cool. We're connected. I already have your seeds. That's your babies.
Well, those are his. He's the one who did those in his house, but I was there,
Yeah, you were in
he did
the
that
environment.
in the mix, yeah. So
That's
those aren't my babies, those are his babies. We'll give him that credit.
okay. Yeah, maybe I'll ask him to be on the show. I hope he says yes, because I know he's busy with the baby now. So it's crazy. His
Yeah,
life's changed so much.
yeah, so much.
Yeah, I know people would probably not even believe that I have kids. And I do sometimes I talk about it on Instagram, but even though I've been like, somewhat I'm active on Instagram and this and that, I have kids that are
Mhm.
8. And it's interesting because at the beginning of, my 20s, I was like, I'm not having any kids. And
Okay.
then I was pregnant with twins. And it was like, well, you're
Oh
having
wow.
two. So that was
Dang.
interesting for me, definitely. But I love how you said that your dad was like just raised you guys well, like to go outdoors. So that's why you like hiking and
Mhm.
you like the healthy food came mostly from like when you got older.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
he
okay.
came because I went through a vegan plant-based phase.
Hmm.
And from doing that research, I was like, okay, a lot of people say they're eating a vegan diet. I'm like, but are you vegan? There's a difference between like eating plant-based diet and then actually being vegan. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh. So for me, I was like, when people say they're vegan, I'm like, are you really, or are you just eating plant-based? You know,
That's true. I've
'Cause-
I've met a lot of people that were like, yeah, I'm vegan, and then later on, like they're like partly vegan, or no,
yeah,
that doesn't count. But yeah, I get you.
right. Yeah. So then that's where that started. So I did that for about a year or so, eating, plant-based, which was cool. I learned a lot new ways of preparing food and vegetables. And,
Hmm.
I was growing most of my own, well, not most of my own food, but I was growing a lot of vegetables when I was living in New York. So I was like, I didn't grow up liking a lot of vegetables, but ever since then, I was like, I grew this, I'm gonna eat it. And it was, some of the best vegetables I've ever had.
Oh, nice. The taste and everything was just different, huh?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And the fact that I grew it,
Yeah,
just
it
like,
wasn't all
I'm
watered
gonna eat
down.
this. Yeah.
All right. And then I wanted to ask you the first question concerning everything that you went through. Can you walk us through your emotional journey from the moment that you realized you had lost your leg? And just as a side note, I don't think I let you guys know, but the accident that Sam was involved in was where he like lost his leg. And so yeah, take us through the like emotional journey or whatever mental realizations you came to when you found out that you had to like cut it off or lose it. Where are you now, and how has this experience shifted your perception?
Okay. Well, I was in a motorcycle accident that completely destroyed my foot. And, while I was sitting there, um, waiting for the ambulance to come, I was like, oh, this is pretty messed up. I'm more than likely gonna lose it, you know. And like right then in that moment, I was like, all right, my life is more than likely gonna be changed forever, and I'm not gonna have a foot anymore, So I just came to terms with it like right then and there. I was like, okay, this is going to be my life now. Because for me, I was already telling myself the story of that this doesn't change what I have planned for my life.
Oh, I
Uh,
love that.
this is just going to be a minor setback, a time to reflect and gather myself, and it'll catapult me further and faster into the things I want to do with
Mhm.
life, being fit, which is an ongoing process. It's staying on top of my diet, which I haven't been doing. So it's,
No,
staying on top.
same. I feel
Yeah,
you. I haven't been the best lately either, especially because I know I'm gonna go on a cleanse next week, so I'm kind of like just cheating right now.
yeah, exactly. And, I'm still going to the gym, but, my definitely eating can be improved. But like like, cause I want to buy some land and start a farmstead, homestead type of situation.
Mhm.
And, I knew that it wasn't going to hinder those things from happening. It's just would slow things down a bit,
Mhm.
partially for a little while until I get a hold of things and how to maneuver and manipulate my body in different ways,
Oh, that's
so
right.
for, for better movement, and that's been a decent journey going through, therapy had its challenges, but, it wasn't anything I couldn't overcome, and that's like when I was in the ambulance, I was already making jokes about it and like, oh, I'm gonna have a badass costume for the rest of my life now, for especially for with Halloween coming up. So
Yes.
I was like, this is gonna be cool. So I didn't let it get me down like at all. People when I was in the hospital were like amazed at my attitude. And I was like,
Yeah.
and I've had several people tell me, especially my dad, I talked to him about it, what he thought about my attitude, during the whole thing. And he was like, well, when I was driving, because they're in California and I live in Arizona.
Mhm.
And so he said, well, he was driving, oh, that's a 6 hour drive, that they're like, my parents had to go through and drive to think about the situation that I'm in, just sitting in silence or music. I don't know what they were doing during the drive, but he was kind of sad and scared to walk into the room and start breaking down. Like he thought he was going to be the one to start crying as soon as he saw me, but he walked into the room and he was like, yo, what the heck? This kid's acting like nothing happened. Like it's just another day in the park. And he's like, okay, well, if he's like this, then I definitely can't, break down and start crying and feeling bad or sorry or sad, whatever emotions would, be stirred up during that type of situation.
Mhm.
I don't know if, I wouldn't know if he didn't allow himself. I don't think that's the right way of putting it,
Mhm.
but those emotions weren't stirred up because of my demeanor.
And speaking of your dad, like we just need to give him a gold medal because like for just raising someone like you that just, has the mentality to just like move forward, like if he was able to raise you that way when you guys were younger, knowing that you didn't have like a mom figure and just telling you like, let's just keep going, like he did instill that mentality in you. So even though he didn't have it in the moment for himself, like just, that reflection did show of him showing you how to react to certain situations that you can't change. And like that's like I said, we need to give him like a gold medal for
For
you being
sure.
able to just like go into the hospital with that mentality because anybody else would just be in so much like anguish like emotionally, right?
I would
Yeah.
think, that's what my friends and family who are there were saying. I was like, dude, if I was in your situation, I would be so angry and depressed. And I was like, well, that's not the story I'm telling myself. That's not how I'm choosing to operate and live the rest of my life.
Hmm.
I made a decision as I was laying there on the floor, like, okay, it's only going to go up from here, even though I'm missing a foot.
Yes.
It's like,
And your email that you sent me, crazy like Sam, was that after the accident?
no. So I made that in high school.
Oh my God, no way. So if you guys don't know, okay, I was sending him the Zoom meeting link and I asked him for his email address and his email address, tell everybody what your email address is.
So my email address is crazylegsam98. And I created that email in high school because my friends called me crazy legs because of how I was running while we played football. Like my legs would go all crazy. So
Mhm.
they called me that. And when I would make the email, I didn't want two S's right next to each other because it would legs. And then I didn't want at two S's for Sam. So I just took away one S.
Oh my gosh,
So
and
people,
that is a perfect point that I wanted to bring up and I almost forgot like the sticky note's not here no more, but I wanted to say, did you watch the movie it's not Quicksilver, Flash. Have you seen that movie yet?
no, not yet.
Okay, so for the viewers also who hasn't seen the movie, I want to go watch Flash. And, in this movie, the main character, let's just say he somewhat thinks that he makes a mistake in life and he keeps trying to go back and change the past, right? So he ends up changing the past because he went to Doctor Strange for the magic for that. Was it a Doctor Strange?
I
I
don't know.
think
Doctor
so.
Strange is Marvel, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Flash is DC. Okay, so I forgot how he changed the time because I've watched so many of these Marvel and DC movies. I forgot how he changed time, but he was able to change the past, right? And there was
Okay.
a certain point where he changed the past and it changed everything like about his future. Like he was living in a different place and everything. But
Hmm.
there were certain parts of his new reality that matched exactly the old reality. Even though he had changed the past, there are some things that were still occurring that occurred in the old life that he had. And I believe it was like Batman's the guy that does all of the like technology for Batman. That guy was a
Okay.
different person. He wasn't Batman's tech guy anymore. And when he went to go see him, when he went to go see Batman, I believe it was just explained to him that no matter what you do to change, your reality, change your past or whatever, there are certain experiences that you're still going to go through no matter what you changed. Even if you
Hmm.
changed like someone not being born, there are still certain things lined up in your future or in your life that are inevitable and are going to happen no matter what you do. So he kept trying to go back and change the past so that it could like have the certain outcome that he wanted and it wouldn't change because his future self told him this moment is inevitable. No matter what you change in your past, this is going to happen to you no matter what because it has to happen. It's part of your destiny. So the fact that
Wow.
you told me that email had happened a long time ago, I do believe, and like I said, this is just a belief, but I do believe that this was going to happen to you no matter what. Like maybe you're just supposed to be that totem pole for everybody around you so they can see and realize that, whatever troubles I have going on, like the only thing I can do is just have a good attitude and move forward. That's the best thing I can do for myself. And I feel like you are showing
Right.
that to everybody around you. And so I wanted to bring up, so you need to watch that movie. So you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
for sure. For sure. And what's interesting is that I talked to my mom about that, about my email. I was like, oh, what if like this was like foreshadowing for my life? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so or did I, in the creation of that email, did I somehow manifest this to happen?
Oh, I
And
love that theory.
that was another thing too. I was like, did I create this just because of an email so long ago instead of referring to myself as having, crazy legs with um just having because it's crazy leg, right? And then Sam. So it wouldn't be crazy legs,
Mm-hmm.
plural, because then that's how I kind of divided up. And I don't know. So it was
Yeah.
it was just a thought
I
for
totally
sure.
think it's just a thought. I really don't believe that you manifested that because, there's like certain things I think that they do say like, oh, if you think it, then you're putting it out there and you're manifesting it. But I don't really believe that's the case for you. I feel like once I heard that in the movie and then thought about you in this interview, I was like, you know what? This could be one of those things that, because these people who make these movies, like sometimes they're part of secret societies that know deep knowledge and deep secrets. And sometimes people just come up with them because it's in the reality or it's something that's just they're channeling, right? Because sometimes we channel things, we think of things like ideas, and then if we don't do them, someone else does them because they've channeled the same idea. It's floating out there in the air.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so moving to another question. This is so good. Many ancient wisdom traditions talk about suffering as an opportunity for deep spiritual growth. Have you found a form of enlightenment or a new understanding of life through your ordeal? Or also, I do believe that you've always been like this and you've been able to just have a stern foundation and just like know, who you are and what your purpose is. So, but can you answer that question even if you have any thoughts on it?
Um, I would say that I think you're more that you're right along the lines of I think that this is kind of how I've been and how I've lived my life is um being able to have a non-attachment to things,
Mm-hmm.
and taking life as it comes,
Mm-hmm.
not really having a reaction to it as okay, this is what happened. Now what? How do I benefit or how do I continue to move forward without letting the negativity of thoughts or emotions affect my day-to-day living. With not having my mom around for, the some of the most important years of my life, as a child, I was had to develop the mindset, that whatever's out of my control, doesn't affect how I choose to move forward.
Yeah. That's funny because
So,
the last time I had a podcast with the last dude, we also interviewed some guy who had lost his arm. And I remember I think we couldn't post that one because the audio was like really bad. But when interviewing him, one of us asked him if he had believed in God after going through that experience, because with him, I don't know if you felt any pain during your accident, but with him, he said he did feel a lot of it. He even passed out because he was like shocked by the electrical lines. He was an
oh, wow.
electrician. He was up there. Something happened. I think a bird touched it or he touched it and then got shocked, passed out, and like fell. And then they had to take his arm off, even though his whole body electrocuted. The hand that touched the cord is the one that came off. So I remember when we asked him, he just said that he didn't believe in God. And it's I have him on Instagram too. I think he started a podcast. So it's interesting. I wonder if his perspective has changed. But what is your perspective on God, or like, what happens beyond this life?
I think that there's a God, all creative force, power. I don't think I don't think this is a godless, you know, uh, living situation, or how do I say that? I don't know,
Yeah,
life.
like the
I think,
reality. Uh-huh.
yeah, the reality of things. I think there is a creative force, whether you want to call it, God, or uh, energy,
Mm-hmm.
whichever name you just want to use that is a creative force, then, yeah, I believe in it.
Yes. But you don't practice like Christianity anymore. You're just more open to it. Like,
Mhm. More open to, yeah, just more open to a lot of things, actually. It's more than, I think it's more than what Christianity teaches,
yeah.
or just in kind of that mindset, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah, because I
that.
remember at one point, I did question it. I asked my mom, I said, how come, everybody has different religions? Like, why do they always fight with each other? Why don't they just like have respect and just, I think I was a lot younger when I asked her this question, but she was like, yeah, I believe you, because she's not super religious. So
Mhm.
she was like, I believe so too. We should all respect each other's views. But I remember, asking that question to myself a few years back before I became spiritual, of like, why do people fight and say that my God is better than yours? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And I think that, like, I haven't read a whole lot of religious texts, but I think a lot of them probably are talking about the same God. Some of them have sub gods, lower level gods that they also talk about, but I think they're all like giving teachings on how to be a better person
Hmm.
in some way, and
Yes.
that the one God that probably is the, main God in their stories is probably all the same God. They just call it by a certain name.
Yes, totally. And so have you found any kind of form of like mindful practices? Like, do you practice any kind of yoga? Do you feel like hiking is your yoga, or planting, or anything like of the like?
Mhm. For sure. Yeah, I like the hiking. I'm able to clear my head, get not so much think a whole lot while I'm hiking, or just kind of in the moment, enjoying, the peacefulness of everything.
Oh, being present.
Yeah, first, yeah,
Yeah,
being present. And with gardening is, it's a patience, it teaches a lot of patience, because
yeah, huh.
you gotta wait for harvest, you gotta watch the growth and pay attention to little nuances that will tell you how the plant's doing,
Hmm.
you know. So I don't
Yeah, it's
know.
almost
That's
like raising kids.
I guess I don't know, I haven't done it myself
Yeah.
yet.
It's not exactly the same, but I get you. Like, you kind of have to, see like if there's anything that they would need help with, potentially, like you have to be there and be present enough and aware enough for those things.
Hmm.
Last night we had a Tribe Vibes meeting, with this group that I told you I have a mentorship with. And
Okay.
one of the deepest like messages I think that we got was like how the present definitely is a gift. That's why like the words are telling a story. The present is a gift because basically when you're not present in your mind, let's just say you're like you're doing something but you're thinking of something else,
Hmm.
or you're speaking to someone and just like, stressing about something else. Anytime when you're not fully present, it's a moment when you're allowing something else to take over, whether that be like the monkey mind or just like that negative aspect of yourself that wants to hinder your success or hinder your growth. Because like we do believe that there is like a force out here in this
Hmm.
reality that constantly wants to keep you down, wants to keep you from growing. Because if they do that, then, basically you reincarnate, you come back to learn more lessons. And the ascension process basically consists of you learning how to be present, mastering your body, mastering your mind, so that you don't let that energy, that force that's always trying to keep you from success, you don't let that take over you. And that's why being present is so key. And also when you meet other people, like other gurus, spiritual leaders, you want to remain present because it's possible that anybody can influence you if you don't do that.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And
Since your
shoot,
accident, I wanted to ask you, do you want to say something real quick before you forget?
no, well, I had already forgotten.
Okay, so since your accident, do you feel like you've discovered a deeper connection with your body or with your mind, or has anything shifted at least a little bit after having that accident?
It made me realize how strong my mind actually is, with able to
Oh,
overcome things because, you don't know how strong you are until you have to be, you know.
yes.
So I had no idea I'd be able to deal with this the way I did, and
Hmm.
it was interesting to hear, some of my family and friends tell me that I was blowing their minds, like how I was able to deal with it. Like one of my friends, he has his own air conditioning business, and I was having some AC issues, so I called him out, and he came and he told me, he's like, "Hey man, I just wanted to let you know that you inspire me, like you like
Oh.
big time." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, not many people hear that from people that they actually have an effect on. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, what do you mean? So he told me, it's like just the way he handled it. He's like, I use you as an example when my kids are being little shits, when
Oh,
they're when they're having issues, or when he's having an issue, he reminds them and he'll remind himself. He's like, yo, Sam lost his foot. Like, and he wasn't there at the hospital, but my friends that live closer to him, they were telling him like, Sam is like he's doing well. Like he's doing great. Like you wouldn't know that he lost his foot. And so he was like, so he was just mind blown, and
hmm.
he let me know, and I was like, wow, someone that to have someone tell you that you had an effect on their life in that way was crazy. It was,
Definitely. You deserve to hear it for sure, though, because, there are little reminders that um, this journey wasn't for nothing, basically. And so
Mhm.
that's really nice that they can do that, or like they were able to speak that to you. And I'm sure you've heard it from many people where you said your
uh,
family and friends.
yeah, family and friends, they say that it was that they just didn't know how I did it, and I don't know
Yeah.
how I.
And you're obviously not addicted to painkillers. I mean, I know you might have to take some every now and then, or how does that go?
No, not at all. Yeah,
Wow.
I was taking my painkillers, in the hospital, and then they said, okay, we're gonna kind of take you off them slowly. We want you to dial your dose down over X amount of time. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. After I got released, I think I was taking them for maybe a month more. Like one of my prescriptions ran out, so I wasn't using that no more.
Mhm.
And then the other one, I was like, all right, cool. Let me. So I stopped it within a month and a half of getting out, if not sooner, of the
Wow.
hospital. Like, yeah, I don't have an addictive personality. in
Mm-hmm.
that sense, like for opioids. I'd like smoking weed, but
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah,
but that was yeah, it wasn't. At least I don't think I had any withdrawals from it. I didn't have any effects from being on the pain meds. At least
definitely.
that I was able to notice. So just okay, cool. I'm done taking them. I don't need them more.
That's really good because I just feel like a lot of people when they're told that they can take something to help them feel better, like they basically give up on themselves and allow this like medication to come and take over their life. Because, like, just as a short story, I think I want to talk about this maybe another time more extensively. But when I was admitted into a mental hospital for a little bit, they kept me for longer days because I wasn't getting better. I wasn't sleeping, and I was basically like having like a manic depression psychosis type of thing. So I wasn't sleeping. I was obsessing over the trauma that I had just gone through. And they wanted to put me on medications, and I kept saying no, like, no, I don't want any. I just don't. And even when I left, they told me they sent a prescription to the pharmacy for me to go pick it up. And I did go pick it up with my mom, and I never took them. And I
Hmm.
just met a teacher recently who said that she also spiraled during COVID. Like I think many people had some kind of issue. She said she spiraled and was getting anorexic and, it was getting really bad. So they put her on medication. I'm not sure if she was hospitalized. She didn't tell me or not. But they put
Hmm.
her on medication. She still takes them. I feel like she functions really well, even though like her diet wasn't the best, but she functions so well. But I
Hmm.
don't know what kind of effect it'll have on her later, or if basically when she doesn't have the medications, I don't know how she acts. Some people when they don't have it or when they run out, they just feel hopeless, like they can't do it or they can't take it all themselves. And yeah, I think it's important, I think, for this generation to realize that you have it in you. You have it in you mentally, you have it in you
Hmm.
physically, to not get addicted to these medications that will just make you so dependent on them. So yeah,
Hmm.
do you have anything to say about that?
Uh, yeah, like they were telling me, in the hospital that, getting addicted to, it was an oxycodone they were giving me. And they said, be careful because they're highly addictive. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Did my research, and, a lot of the research said that, it was addictive to be careful with your doses and all that. And I was like, okay. But, I was taking as prescribed. I wasn't taking more than prescribed, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, it didn't have enough effect, or at least that I noticed,
Mm-hmm.
that for me to be like, oh man, I need this, or I didn't stop taking them so early that I was still feeling pain.
Yeah.
I think I was taking it long enough where the pain was pretty much subsided, because a lot of what I did have was a lot of like tingling, and like my foot was asleep, like very pins and needles, right?
Oh, uh-huh.
A lot of that sensation, but it wasn't really painful, it was just uncomfortable. And they had gave me another medicine to help with that. Ooh, that was the first one that ran out. So then I was just on the pain meds. And then I was like, okay, let me just slowly dial back to see how painful it actually gets. And it was like it wasn't painful, it was just the uncomfortable pins and needle feeling. So I was like,
Mm,
okay, I don't need these no more then.
yeah.
And I'm already out of the medicine that's supposed to help with the pins and needles, but I am not refilling that because I didn't want to continue taking it to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
I was just,
That's
okay, this will go away in time. And it did,
oh,
no matter.
nice.
Yeah. So I didn't have the pins and needles, I get it every once in a while. They call it was it phantom pain? Every once in a while.
Oh, that's cool, that name. Because like it's like an invisible, like a ghost, like your
Mhm.
foot, what it would be there, right?
Right. Yeah. Every now and then I'll get like a sharp pain, like it's in my foot. And I'm like, oh, damn it, but it's very quick. It's not a long lasting pain for me because, I've read that some people do have a longer lasting, phantom pain where they feel pain in the area that they're missing,
Hmm. I
and
I wonder if that's mental because just you having a strong mind, you say you don't feel it anymore. But there are people, and you know how they say they can't measure pain. Like that's only
Mhm.
something that the person who's going through it can tell you. There's no way for them to measure pain. So if you say you have
Right.
like a headache or a migraine, they can't tell you that you don't. So I
Right.
wonder if it is a mental thing. It's crazy also because my mentor, Savan Bomar, that I mentioned, he did talk
Mhm.
about once, like when someone loses like an arm or a leg, like technically it's still there in the spiritual realm. So that kind of does prove itself because how these, you know, these doctors are calling it phantom pain. It's like you're in the physical or the spiritual realm, it's still there. So it's still giving you, some kind of some
Mhm.
feeling.
Right. And they explained to me that that happens because the nerves and all that, your brain hasn't made the connection that that part of you isn't there no more. So the nerves are trying to fire and feel something that's not there. And in doing so, like it causes, to the pain to arise, while you're going through the process. Because when I was first laying in the hospital, like I was able, mentally still in using my muscles, I was able to move my whole foot. Like I was flexing it and moving my toes like this. That's what I was trying to do. And it felt like I was doing that, but there
Ooh.
was no foot to do that.
Yeah. So I
And
think it is like spiritually there because you were like doing it in the spiritual realm.
right, exactly. And I felt it 100%. Like, yo, I'm curling my toes right now. They're like, you got no foot though. I'm like, I know, but I'm curling them. But now that ability to do that has diminished. It's gone down with as the nerves are, rearranging themselves to let my brain know that, okay, that's not there. The muscles and the nerves need to work differently.
Mhm.
So it's
Today was the last day of a like 40-day challenge that me and a group of women were having where we woke up at like 4 a.m. every morning to do some breath work or meditation. Something that just, is for ourself and to honor like the sunrise, the sun coming up. So a lot of people were taking pictures. I kept taking pictures of the sunrise, but it was like the same angle because I couldn't leave my house. My kids were sleeping and I couldn't leave them home alone. So, but they all were sharing pictures and whatnot. And I guess some of the experiences I went through when doing the breath work and the meditation was just like this feeling of during the meditation, especially specifically one day where it was like almost like a kundalini feeling. I felt like there was so much energy going up and down my spine or up my spine and into my head and out of my head that in that moment it just felt like I had no limbs, right? Because I didn't have any sensation of having my limbs, of my arms, my legs, nothing. It was just literally all my spine and my mind. And
yeah.
so yeah, so I wonder if any of that will, I'm not going to say it will help you because you're already in a great condition, like mentally, but it definitely teaches you that you are not the body. Like there is a force inside of you that is more alive than even your own body is. So
Mhm.
I wanted to share that experience because I literally even told the women in the chat, I was like, I didn't feel any of my limbs. It felt like everything was just centered in my back and just like rising. And so yeah, so that
Like a
was
like a lightness, right?
yes. And it
Like
was also right after I was done, I started crying and just releasing all this like built up stress that I guess the body had.
mhm. Yeah, I've done I have a book on the Kundalini, or it's I forget who the author is, but it's a two-part book and it's purple and it's about the flower of life. And the author towards the end he goes through techniques on how to awaken your Kundalini. I haven't done it yet, but it was just interesting that, things that we've researched, and when you talk or someone that you're talking with brings it up, it's like, hey, oh, I know a little bit about that, or
Yeah, maybe it's a sign too. Finally, if you had a message to share with someone who is going through a similar struggle, what would it be? Like, what wisdom do you hope people take away from your experience?
that you're in charge of your life. However, whatever story you decide to tell yourself on how you deal with situations will determine how you're gonna come out of it at the
Mhm.
end. The sooner you can tell yourself a story of overcoming and getting through the struggle, I believe the sooner you will get through the struggle. The sooner you will be okay with what happened, whatever it may be, and you'll learn your lesson sooner.
Yes.
Well, whatever that lesson may be. because everyone's going through struggles. Anyone's struggle is not greater or lesser than the other, because struggles are, it's not a competition.
Mm-hmm.
And how you deal with it is how you deal with it. But I think the sooner you're able to come to terms and accept that this is just a storm, the storm will pass. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, that's what I would hope that people get from this, is that you're in charge of how you deal with things. You
Yeah.
don't have to let you don't have to let your negative thoughts or current emotions determine your day-to-day living.
I love that because it's like a current emotion. It's an emotion that you're having in the moment. It's gonna, like the current, it's gonna just pass. Because I
Hmm.
definitely, in my past, I've had a lot of anger issues. When I grew up as a little girl, I've seen like my dad put hands on my mom. And so I also, I guess you could say I inherited a little bit of anger and, dealing with situations. Let's just say I would drop a cup, like spill a cup of water. I would start
Hmm.
cursing. I'd get upset. I'd even be like, who put the cup here? I'd be trying to blame
Yeah.
somebody but myself, right? And now it's more like, okay, if I drop a cup, like the other day, I was going to work, just made a coffee, didn't drink it yet, dropped the coffee down the stairs. And I was
Oh,
like, oh, well, I guess I don't have a coffee today. I just picked up the cup and took it with me to throw it away. And my son was watching me and he was like, oh, mom, but you don't have your coffee anymore. And I was like, that's
uh,
okay, son. That's okay. We're still going. We got to go.
yeah.
And it's beautiful when you can go from such a place like that. If any of you guys have any anger or you have issues where you're blaming other people sometimes instead of yourself or having excuses all the time, like your life can change, your mentality can change. You just have to remember that, like Sam said, you are the master. You're the one who decides what you get to do next and how you handle things. Like, am I going to go and ask everyone in my house who left this cup here? And is that going to help me? Or should I
Right.
just clean up the cup, pick it up, and just like move forward, right?
Right. Exactly.
Definitely. Oh my gosh. So I'm so glad we were able to get on. I even maybe in the future we can have another build, but I just want to thank you for like saying yes to this. I know maybe it's a little bit of a vulnerable thing, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe you kind of transcended those feelings. But I appreciate you for being here and I loved hearing your story. And I definitely think that even this moment was meant to happen.
I think so. You're welcome, and thank you for having me.
All right.
It was interesting, and it was interesting, the how we kind of strayed away from the questions that you had a little bit,
Yes, there
so
was a
it
few I
was-
thought that were like reoccurring. I was like, I kind of feel like we talked about this, so I skipped a few. And I didn't want to like bombard you with like similar questions because I knew that one of them that I skipped was like mental resilience is a reoccurring topic on our show. What mental tools or practices have you found most effective in coping with the physical and emotional pain you've endured? And I don't know if you have
Mhm.
a different answer, but we did talk about how you just like know that you have to keep moving forward and you've always kind of thought like that. But was there anything else, like any mental tool or practice that you think you found most effective?
uh I already mentioned it, was non-attach practice of non-attachment, not being so attached to things in life. I think I've always had it, they on social media, platforms, they say a good attitude to have is, it is what it is, and that I was able to live that, like, for real, like real life, like, oh, it is what it is. It being non-attached even to the things such as a limb loss,
Mhm.
okay, not having that the emotional attachment to losing it, as with losing anything in life, whether that's a parent, a loved
Mhm.
one, a spouse, that things come and go out of your life, and you
That's
can
a
love
good
them,
point.
or love them, or love the thing, love your autonomy as much as anyone can. But when it's time to go, it's time to go.
Mhm.
Whenever, whatever it is, may be, that is being released from your life, so
That's
uh,
a good point. Because you know how they say too, like there's, in movies, let's just say when people pass away and then suddenly there's like a ghost that's haunting like this house or this area where they either mostly lived or where they died. And, they say that those spirits like stick around because they haven't accepted their own death, right? Like they even have an attachment to the reality
Hmm.
that they were in before. So it just gets you to wonder, like, let's just say that we all felt like that. Where does that mean that we're going to go when we die? If we're so attached to our story, to our ego, to our possessions, if we're
Hmm.
so attached to them, like where will we go? Are we going to all go to the same place? Because, people just have different feelings or perceptions when they die. Like everyone is so different. And like you
Right.
mentioned, when we lose somebody that we love, like, like I've definitely gone through a loss where I let it get to me too much. I almost let it just ruin me forever. I could have been like disabled for life just from not sleeping, from not eating, from not taking care of myself because I was so attached to this person that I had lost. And that
Hmm.
happens. People do, they lose sleep, they get depressed, they have to take medications because someone's gone. And it's not to say like don't have a deep relationship, a deep connection, but
Right.
their attachment is just a different thing.
Right. Exactly. And not talking about this actually brought up something that I was, thinking about earlier is when I was going through the phase of getting my prosthetic made. I was asking my prosthetist, like, okay, how well do people adapt to getting a leg, something that's not actually a part of you, and how are they transition from being in a wheelchair, being on crutches, and then to having a leg again and being able to walk and be was it ambulable? That's not the right word. But being able to walk around and move on your own without the aid of crutches or a wheelchair. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
well, that really depends on the person. Some people,
Oh.
they were saying that some people just don't feel comfortable having a prosthetic. They can't they haven't accepted the loss. So
Mm.
that has a lot to do with how they handle getting a leg. That they say it hurts. And it does hurt. You do go through a process of your leg kind of trying to reform, because and they form it specifically for your leg, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever prosthetic um you're getting,
Mm-hmm.
they shape it specifically for you, so it's going to fit well, but there are little things that they can correct to make it more comfortable. But they were telling me that some people, they can go through it for months or years of, hey, this doesn't feel right. Hey, this still doesn't feel right. It just, and it's, they were saying it has a lot to do with the mindset and how willing or how readily they accepted the loss and are willing to move forward. They haven't, a lot, what they were saying was that, they haven't got over a mental barrier to allow, their body and their mind to accept that, hey, this thing is going to help you get around more, you know
That is
and so.
so true. Like denial, right? Denial is just so deep because, like you said, some people find it uncomfortable and they never adapt. But that's
Mhm.
because, like, and it just goes to show you, like, that the mind is a lot more than the body. Because if you adapt in your mind mentally that this is it, then you find comfort with
Mhm.
your new life, basically. And since they're saying, like, they basically haven't realized it mentally, they haven't accepted that they lost a limb. And so they sit in this discomfort the whole time because of just the mental, like you said, the mental barrier. That's
Mhm.
deep. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it was getting it. I was ready. I was ready to, like, okay, let's move. I want to start walking again. I want to get back into the gym and start doing gym things, doing stuff with my legs.
Mhm.
And that was, I've gotten my legs pretty strong over this year,
Oh,
of going to the
wow.
gym and stuff. Yeah, so it's pretty cool being able to do certain things. Like I was talking to my brother uh earlier last month. Um, and we were talking about going to the gym and lifting weights, and I told him some of my numbers, and he's like, "What the hell?" It's like that can't happen. He's like, "I got to go to the gym and get my numbers up." I was like, "Why? You can't have a brother with that's missing a leg be stronger than you in this
Oh, I
area?"
know, huh? A little ego.
Yeah, I was like, "Whatever." But it
That's
was
crazy.
funny that he was like, "Oh, I gotta bump up my numbers." I was like,
Ooh,
yeah,
that's
that's
incredible
cool.
though.
Friendly competition, you know.
And is the prosthetic, does it weigh the same as like what your foot would or what the other foot weighs, or is it like lighter?
Um, I think it's heavier, but I
Oh,
don't know. You
you've
know,
adapted.
yeah, I'm not really sure I can, like, it feels like this, it feels more dangly. You know, it doesn't, and it's not a, a solid connection, to my body, which I did find last night or 2 nights ago. There's it's called osseointegration, and it's where they attach a rod to your bone. Like they medically
Mm,
attach it, like drill out your bone and then stick a titanium rod inside your bone. And then you don't have to wear a prosthetic, or at least the way the traditional prosthetic leg is put on. You can actually have it, it's attached to you, and it's going through your bone structure. So there's more physical feedback. There's tends to be more stability.
hmm.
And so I found that like 2 days ago, and I was like, wow, this
Oh,
might be the next step for me to go. Not that this is fine. Like I enjoy the mobility that I have. I'm still building up, strength and stability with it. There's still so much progress I can make.
hmm.
But I think the next step after would be to maybe try that out,
Yeah.
or see that as an option of.
So when someone loses a limb, they don't really give you like all of the options that are out there, right? Because the people that do, let's just say the people that offer the option of being able to like attach it to your bone, like that's separate from whatever hospital you were at, right?
Yeah, I had no idea that was an option. And I think there's a limit. There's like maybe five to 10 doctors maybe in the US that do this and have, a good enough track record
Mm.
and then I was like, holy shit.
So it
Like,
doesn't
damn.
come off, right? Until they like surgically remove it if they wanted to, right? It's like
Right.
forever.
Well, Well, they have the rod that's sticking out. It has attachment points where you can take off the foot, but
Oh,
you still have a titanium rod coming out of your skin, out of your
oh
skeletal
yes.
structure, right? And then
Hmm.
from there, because you have different feet for different tasks. Like you have a running leg, then you can have just a regular everyday walking leg,
Well, that's
So,
interesting. Is it because like it bends differently or something?
yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
okay.
With like a running blade, you get more spring,
Oh,
because
it's
right
the
now,
ones that go like they curve a little bit, right?
right, yeah, the
Oh,
seat
okay.
sequence.
Yeah,
And
maybe
so
you're gonna
with
be in the Olympics one day because I think I swear I've seen somebody like an athlete wear it.
Yeah, I don't forget his name, but he has two. He's missing two of his legs, and he
Oh.
has, yeah. I forget his name, but yeah, the foot I have now, like I can't jump with it very much at all, just because it doesn't have that springiness and that feedback to be able to do that. Like I've tried, I can, get a couple inches off the ground, but
Hmm.
it's not the same as jumping with my right or jumping at all. It's
Yeah, there's
so
more like lift and thrust that you would have to do instead.
exactly. So, that the osseointegration is maybe the next step that I take into during this journey. I don't know. Well, I gotta talk to my doctors and see what's possible or what can be done, or if that's something that I can move into now, or should it be something that I wait down the road, you
Hmm.
know?
But that's awesome. Like you're open to it. Obviously, especially if you want to be active, you're open to anything that'll get you more into the activity.
Mhm. Right, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So is there anything else you wanted to ask me or anything else you wanted to say before we go?
Uh, just YouTube stuff. Like how do you find time and how do you schedule your stuff for doing YouTube? And
Oh, I like this question.
yeah, I've been wanting to do YouTube for years. Like I have equipment to do it. I have programs to edit video, but I haven't actually stepped into doing it. It's a mental barrier that I haven't crossed yet.
Okay,
Of
definitely.
being in
So
front of the camera.
So in the past, when I first started off YouTube, I was very like much younger and I didn't ever think to really edit my videos. So I never had a thumbnail. I never had any cuts in the video where I actually had to edit them. Like, back in the day, it would just be like I record on my phone, or laptop, and then I upload it. So no thumbnail, no edits, no extra sound effects or anything. And then I took a program in April or May of this year that showed me how to film better, like doing better angles using different cameras, and how to edit software. So
Mhm.
even though I like editing, like when I'm doing my videos, I get really into it now. Like I like to add different sound effects and stuff. It takes me a long time because I'm barely starting to do it. I think other people can edit much faster because they're used to it, but it
Mhm.
becomes fun once you actually get the hang of it and learn where all the buttons are and what the buttons can do. That's when
Mhm.
it gets fun. That's when it's really like, oh, dang, I created this. It's like creating a movie. Like, imagine how proud you feel after making a movie.
Right. Yeah, I've made two videos, one like for motorcycles and one hiking, and
Oh, cute.
they were like 4 to 5 minute videos, and it took me like 12 to 14 hours to do it. But I did it all in one big session, and I
Mm-hmm.
burned myself out. I'm like, oh man, that took so long. I think
Yes.
I'm done for now. So I'm realizing that that was probably my mistake, was that I tried to do an entire video in one session instead of breaking it into, several smaller 1 or 2 hour, work
Yes.
sessions.
Yeah. Now, every time you go into it, you're going to think, you feel like you're going to be there that same amount of hours now, though, but you're not.
Right.
Because
Right.
yesterday, I think I edited a video yesterday, the day before, and it took me like 3 or 4 hours. But to me, I was like, it was worth it because I liked the way it came out afterwards. So it does become worth it when you get the hang of it. And as for finding time, I feel like it's been easier for me now because the past 40 days I've been waking up at 4 a.m. So I find
Mhm.
things to do, like whether it's watch videos on how to do it, like what program is best, what I should do, like how to adjust the settings, because even adjusting settings can be like a lot. And so I've had just extra time. Like there's a lot of days where I have to go to work too, like at 7 a.m., be out of my house at 7 a.m. So waking up at 4 a.m. didn't even allow me to do anything because I take a while doing my hair, my makeup. When I wash it, I dry it, everything. And I have to get the kids ready for school. So
Mhm.
usually I'm caught up in the mornings, but on the weekends I've been able to like find time to just little by little and just remind myself one step at a time, like don't put too much pressure on yourself because sometimes I put myself down. Like last week when I did have someone they were supposed to come show up here to do it. They didn't show up, but that was because of a lack of communication that I was having with them that didn't allow them to really like show up on time. And so I got kind of depressed for that day. I was like, man, I kind of like told everyone about it. And if anyone went to go look for the content, like it wasn't there. And I just feel like I
Mhm.
let people down. And the guy that was supposed to come, I feel like he wasn't going to take me serious. But obviously, he was like, hey, it's cool. We're going to get it done. I'm excited. And yeah, I just find time by just thinking a few days ahead because I also have to take my kids to soccer practice. I take a dance class whenever I have a free Wednesday. Um, I have a job at a school, so that's a part-time job at school, a part-time job checking on my grandma, getting her groceries done, washing her clothes, doing all that here in my house for my kids. Some days packing lunch, every day packing lunch for my husband. And it's just like, I don't know, I find the time because I like to do all these things. Like
Mhm.
if I didn't like to do any of it, I would be a lot more not willing to, but I find happiness in being there for my grandma and being able to do certain things with her because she tells me a lot of stories about our lineage. And I honor that because she's the oldest one in our family. Like she's the last one standing, and she was the oldest of the siblings. Most of her brothers and sisters passed. There's like a few, but she's the eldest. And so me just getting those stories from her means a lot to me because no one else is going to get them out of her. And I'm even writing them down for her. Like she basically has a journal that I keep for her every time she tells me a new story about our family. Because when she
Mhm.
dies, like who's going to know that stuff? And then as for working at the school, I just love being there for children. So, it makes me money and I'm a substitute though right now. So it's easy for me to say, I'll go this day and not that day. So that way that day I can work on this. And then that day I could like meal prep. And so I
Mhm.
also like cooking and I like taking care of people and nurturing them. So I've got to cook. There are some days that I
Yeah.
don't, but when I go too long without cooking for my family, I get sad because I'm like, I didn't get to make anything healthy this week. I didn't get to like nourish them. And so I
Mhm.
guess I've found the perfect like list of things that I like to do that I
Mhm.
can make money off of, or I can find a deeper meaning to. And so that's what you have to do, I think, in life. Like if you find something that you hate and you don't like to do, but you keep on doing it because you don't find anything better to do, then it just takes time to get to this place I feel like I've gotten to now.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like making the time to do things. And you're doing so much and you still
Oh.
have time to, I feel like you're doing a whole lot and you still have time to talk to people and record a YouTube video and that's pretty fun. That's
Like
amazing.
after I get this off this call, I have to pick up my dad because he's spending the night and I'm taking him in the morning to a bus stop. But it's just like I find so much joy in my life now. Like I think the gratitude of just being alive and being able to connect with others and just being grateful that you're able. I think that helps really be able to get things done. Because if you're not grateful for your life, if you're not grateful for your time,
Mhm.
then where is the time going to go? You're going to let it go because you're not thankful and grateful for it. You're not making the best use of it.
Mhm. Good way. Well put. Well put.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Oh my gosh, this has been a very nice conversation. The best one so far.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right.
It has been a good conversation. Well, you have a good day. Spend some time with your family. And yeah, let's see if we can do this again or a part two or however you want to do it.
Definitely. Even if it's a part two, we can talk about anything else. I'd be so excited and so ready for that. So yes,
Okay,
thank
very
you so much, Sam. It's been a pleasure. I love it. My
good.
whole day is going to be like on a cloud.
Thanks. You're welcome.
All right. It's nice to
Alrighty,
hear
Vet.
from you. All right.
You as well.
Bye.
Bye.